Ahead of the storm, a KRBC Storm Team Special continues.
Well, wind farms are a familiar sight across the West Texas landscape, and while they're good for the environment, they can provide a challenge in the way we see the weather. I spoke with Dr. Steve Lyons with the National Weather Service in San Angelo on how these can interfere with the radar. As meteorologists, we work closely with radar, and sometimes more than just precipitation can show up on it.
It turns out that the wind turbines, especially when it's windy, are moving, and so they produce a ground clutter of return from our velocity field, and so we get these fake little velocities.
It's wind farms like this one here in Shackelford County that can appear as what we call ground clutter, interfering with the radar beam as it hits the spinning fan blades. And for the most part, it doesn't take a trained eye to identify these wind farms on radar, but this phenomenon isn't only limited to wind turbines.
As a matter of fact, if you look some nights on the radar, when the beam is bent toward the ground on very stable nights where it's fair weather, we can actually see little lines of traffic moving, and that line of traffic says it's moving at about 65 knots, or 60 knots, 65 miles an hour, something like that.
The wind farms can provide a challenge, especially if a radar beam is blocked by a wind turbine, but it can also be easy to tune out these when looking at the radar.
The good thing about them is they don't move. They're always sitting there, and weather rarely is stationary. It's just like this radar image I keep pointing at, or the models are showing these waves of moisture moving and across the U.S.
So as the wind industry continues to grow across West Texas, and as long as these wind farms don't interfere with the radar beam, we remain confident in our ability to interpret the radar. Currently, there are plans to build more wind turbines around the Dias radar that could impact the radar beam as it looks towards Abilene. Discussions continue with meteorologists, the Air Force Base, and the builders of the wind farm to mitigate the impacts.
Meet Chief Meteorologist Dylan Smith.
My passion is people. I love talking to people. I love being able to inform everybody, what's coming up, what's coming their way first off, and I hope to communicate that in a way that's simple for everybody to understand and effective for everybody to understand. That's one of the things I was looking for in a job growing up and going to college. Was I wanted to be able to help people. I didn't just want a desk job that I was pushing papers all day, wouldn't be able to do anything. I wanted to be able to interact with not only people but the community and inform them of anything that they need to know for the next day, the next week, the next month.
Well, when we come back here on Ahead of the Storm, tornado drills are important to make sure we want to know what to do when a tornado strikes. Next, we take you to some Abilene schools to find out how they are learning. This is Ahead of the Storm on KRBC.